Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. I've always dreamed of speaking at the Washington State Convention Center. Thank you very much.
Coming up, remembering Bob Santos, community activist, social justice advocate, and a King County icon. Next on a special edition of King County Connects. On Saturday, August 27th, Bob Santos passed away. He was 82. He was best known as Uncle Bob, a product of Seattle's International District who never forgot where he came from and who fought hard to preserve the community where he was raised. Uncle Bob was also a part of the Gang of Four, working with Roberto Maestas of El Centro de la Raza, Bernie Whitebear of United Indians of All Tribes, and Larry Gossett of the Central Area Motivation Program to form a united front to fight for civil rights and social justice for Seattle and King County communities of colors. Uncle Bob was tough when he had to be, funny, friendly, and a lover of karaoke, which he did very well. And perhaps what he did best was bring people together to make a difference in so many areas of concern. Joining me now to remember Uncle Bob is King County Council member Larry Gossett, his good friend and fellow Gang of Four member. I'm sorry for your loss. You lost your buddy.
Thank you, but in my heart and in our broader community, as you've already very effectively said, he'll be remembered by so many because of the contributions he made to the greater Seattle and King County area, and in many ways because the story about the Gang of Four, because of the book, has reached audiences all over the world. He'll continue, his legacy will continue to be known.
You know, so fortunate, the Gang of Four, that it managed to be written in time to really establish the history of how you guys all came together, how you worked together, but also how you were such close friends in many ways. Let's go back here first, though. Okay. When you first met Bob, and this had to be what, late 60s?
68.
Yeah?
1968. He's always been so personable, such a character. In 1967-68, he was the director of Caritas House, which was a Catholic interfaith community organization located in the Central Area on 17th and Jefferson. And he became the only person that ran a huge place for meeting that allowed progressive and radical groups to meet. So that was the context in which I heard about him and went to talk to him. I said, the Seattle Alliance of Black Student Unions has just organized, and we've been meeting in a couple of churches, but those churches have given us notice that we can't meet there every week, and we need a permanent meeting place for at least the rest of this year, sir. And I was wondering if you'd be open. And right away he said, of course, you all can meet here. Sit down. And we went through it. He said yes. And what I noted, I said, he hadn't mentioned price yet. And then right at the end, I sheepishly said, we don't have a lot of money, but how much is this going to cost? And right away he said, don't worry about that now. We'll talk about that later. And to this day, I think we haven't paid much, but he knew that the kind of work that we were doing, bringing black youth together to talk about how we can improve our education and our community, was definitely worth the faith community, particularly Catholic faith community, providing the kind of support it did. And that's why we and everybody else loved Uncle Bob.
I know that he opened the doors there for your group,
Right.
the
And the Black Panther Party
Panthers,
started meeting there.
United Indians of All Tribes, when Bernie White Bear,
Yeah.
who became a part of the Gang of Four.
United
when-
Construction Workers
Right.
Association
and
under
Tyree Scott.
Yeah.
That were all I guess those who were considered to be radical to some degree,
Yeah.
but really were fighting for equality and social justice
Yeah.
and civil rights.
Yes.
And that's really the starting point for how you met him and Bernie met him and eventually Roberto Maestas of El Centro.
Yeah. I never will forget that the meetings that Tyree Scott used to have to organize demonstrators to support the effort of black workers to open up the construction industry in Seattle, starting in about 1969, and how much these mostly Mexican people that came with Roberto, because he was English as a second language director of a program, and a lot of them couldn't speak English that well, but yet they right away, they loved Uncle Bob, and his Spanish is not the best in the world either. But they loved Uncle Bob, and a lot of the black people that came to those meetings were just amazed at how many people who could not speak English was willing to go out in the streets and support the cause of equal access to construction work in Seattle, and they weren't explicitly in those early days involved with getting the benefits. And we were able to build, that's how we were able to build third world or unity amongst minority groups in this community. That's why I was kind of shocked and amazed in 1977 when I became one of the first activists in Seattle to get his. I joined and helped organize the Coalition Against Government Spying, and then I got my file from the Seattle Police and the FBI. And the FBI had my mode of operating, that's supposed to be criminal mode of operating, advocate of third world causes. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out why they would call a criminal mode of operating, advocating that blacks, Asian, Latinos, Native Americans come together in united fronts to fight for power. That was amazing. But Bob laid the foundation for all of that.
I know that one thing he used to joke about is that the Archbishop or the bishop or whoever he was reporting to would say to him, we're supposed to be getting rental fees from these guys. And he said, they're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
And actually they were doing the Lord's work.
And we were, and this Bob was someone at the right place at the right time.
So Bob grew up in Seattle. He was born and raised here.
Went to Immaculate Elementary School.
O'Day High School. Eventually became a Marine. Even boxed like his father.
Yeah.
His father had been a boxer. He grew up in the heart of the International District. That was where he was all about. It was his people and his community. Filipino American. He helped to also organize and was the head of Interim eventually when you guys
International District Improvement Association.
The one thing that really I guess you guys did together, and Bob was a part of this as part of Interim and the International Improvement District, you also heading the Central Area Motivation Program, Roberto Maestas heading El Centro de la Raza and Mexican-American Community Organization, and Bernie White Bear as United Indians of All Tribes.
Yes.
You guys did something very unique, and the fact that you were 4 distinct groups from 4 distinct communities, but yet you guys could work together.
Yes, that was very unique. It was not something we had read in a book or anything. It was mostly out of an accident that we all came together. But we all came together by actually trying to do something to serve the people in our respective communities. I first met Roberto Maestas at the Franklin Sit-In that was held on March 29, 1968, and about 100 students, black students, took over Franklin's principal's office because he had just kicked out 2 black girls for wearing their hair natural. He went further, Enrique. He told them that they could not return until their hair looked ladylike. That was ridiculous and unfair and unjust. And the students mobilized. But they added other demands, that Franklin hired the first black administrator ever in a Seattle public school, which was 105 years old, the school district of Seattle at that time, and hired the first black African-American history teacher. So that sit-in really had an impact on Seattle, and it had an impact on Roberto because he was the only person, staff or student-wise, that was not black that stayed for the 4 hours of the sit-in because he was curious, he was interested, and he intuitively felt that what the students were talking about was something that needed to be talked about. And some of them had him as their teacher. But that was the context in which I met Roberto.
And that's also a transition where he went from being Robert to Roberto to eventually becoming very much an activist.
Right.
And eventually meeting you, meeting Bernie. And Bob talked a lot of how you guys used to work together. Because working together in a united front really was something that could help you get things done in whatever issues you were. And you guys backed each other up.
Oh, absolutely. In the summer of 1972, I was in a jail cell with Roberto Maestas and Bob Santos and me and Michael Ross because of the United Construction Workers Association had closed down Seattle Community College building because they were not using any black workers. And here's a big institution being constructed right adjacent to the black community of Seattle at that time. And it needed to use, we felt, and most people feel now, black workers. And those demonstrations led to a federal judge finally saying, come on, construction union, come on, construction contractors of the greater Seattle area, you have to open up this industry, and it did. But while we were in jail, everybody was sad until Bob started telling jokes in jail. And just the levity that he was able to create was something, whether it was at the karaoke bar in jail. I traveled with him and Roberto and Bob to Japan, and in every city we went to Kobe.
Bernie was part of that, yeah.
Yeah, Bernie was part of that
right.
too. All 4 of us went to Japan, but Bob was the life of the party. He and Bernie were both extremely humorous. I used to try to do some interpreting, and Bob would just get on me, let the real interpreters interpret. Larry, that's not your job. He was really a fun guy, but he was there to take a stand when it was necessary.
Well, yeah, talk about that. Of the 4 of you, was he the guy that would help kind of calm things down when things got very tense? I know, obviously, he did that through humor.
He did it through humor, and he did it because his nature is the nature of the quality of man he was that I know that we can get along together to get something done. And that's how he came across, and I think that had a lot to do with why he was able to cool things out when sometimes things would get out of hand at meetings at Garrett's house or on demonstrations or in the offices of the mayor of Seattle or in the offices of the president of United Way. In 1982, the 4 of us, along with some very brilliant women activists, Ms. Kokora Dorsey and Estella Ortega and Elaine Coe and others got together and organized the Minority Executive Directors Coalition. And we told United Way, you don't fund any minority agencies, and you're going to have to fund them. And historically, they've been able not to do that because they played one community against the other. And when the 4 of us came in there together and Bob started kind of joking and saying, "You're not going to be able to divide us," and making us give fives to one another right in front of him. After we left the office in time that year, all of us got, all of our agencies got funding from United Way for the first time.
What did Bob
That's the
mean?
Bob Santos that I knew.
What did Bob mean to the International District?
It is not an accident that he's called the mayor of the International District.
Which he
Or
didn't
the-
like, actually. He did
Oh,
not
he
like
didn't?
that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
He told me that. But anyway.
Yeah, but he didn't correct any of us when we called him the mayor. And Uncle Bob, why everybody affectionately called him Uncle Bob. Because he was born and raised there, as you've already eloquently said. But he cared deeply about that community. When they started the Merchants Association to try to figure out how to stem the tide of the negative impact that the building of the kingdom was having on the International District, Bob figured out a way that we could get the city and the state and Paul Allen and others to contribute money to the International District because of these impacts. And then in turn, his organization started built that parking lot under and making a little money, and a lot of stores were able to maintain. But his biggest legacy in the International District is housing. Bob Santos was the leader of the effort that's built more housing, affordable housing for minority, working class, and poor people in the International District than, per capita speaking, was built anywhere in the country. The hundreds and hundreds of low-income housing built in the International District where Chinese, Japanese, blacks, Filipinos, and poor whites and others can still stay down there, all can be contributed to his leadership and his legacy. It's nothing comparable to it around the country.
Your friendship, what did it mean to you?
My friendship with Bob Santos and the other amigos has always meant the world to me. I will never fall into the trap of saying, "Oh, I'm just a black man and I don't care about the others." Our friendship and what we were able to accomplish by working together made it crystal clear that if we work together across racial lines and be able to work together with progressive-minded whites, there's no limit to what it is we can accomplish. That's the part of the legacy that he, the two other amigos that preceded him, and that I will carry on, people will remember about us. And with this book, they'll learn from our experiences what it takes to create cross-racial and geographic unity, to create positive social change that leads to jobs, housing, better schools for people who are disadvantaged or oppressed.
You know, it's interesting.
That's the legacy.
And we did this conversation. I don't know if you remember this. We at here in Seattle at the Olympic Fairmont, where we had a conversation with lawmakers from other parts of the country that were of color.
Yeah.
And we talked about you guys all
right.
being together and how they were all surprised that you could work together.
Yeah.
Because in many other places it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the unique personalities that brought us together is something to behold. And I have to say that Bob's easygoing manner and informal way of relating to everybody played a large role, probably the most significant role in keeping the Gang of Four and this multiracial unity going for over 40 years in this country. That's why we'll miss him so. But his legacy will inspire others to carry on. I'm confident of.
You're the last one left.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. And I definitely, with those three brothers as my models, particularly Bob, will carry on the fight, carry on the struggle to make our community, our nation, our world a better place for all people to live. And that is, in truth, the legacy of Bob Santos.
It is. It truly is. Bob Santos was one of the Gang of Four. The book, The Gang of Four, Four Leaders, Four Communities, One Friendship, is still available and still out there. I encourage people to read it, to take a look at the history of what it was all about and how you guys all work together. Bob will truly be missed.
Yes.
I'll miss going to the bush and listening to him sing those old standards.
Yeah, he was a great singer.
He was a good singer.
Great singer.
And a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
thank you for carrying on the legacy with him. And
I appreciate that,
I
Enrique.
appreciate that. We'll miss him, won't we?
Yes.
All right. Larry Gossett, thank you very much. And thanks for joining us for this special edition of King County Connects as we remember the legacy of Bob Santos, who did so much here in Seattle and King County. And please visit us online at kingcounty.gov. I'm Enrique Cerna, and we'll see you next time.